Perhaps you've heard of twin films before, when movies made around the same time, usually within a year or two of each other, have incredibly similar plots. Sometimes, it's due to a new studio forming from members of an old studio, such as when members of Pixar left to form DreamWorks. DreamWorks puts out Ants as their feature debut, and Pixar releases A Bug's Life only 1 month later. Sometimes it happens by sheer coincidence, for example, like Sky High and Zoom, twin movies about schools for youths with superpowers. Some vastly outdo their opponent due to the quality of the product. Get fucked, Zoom, you suck, especially compared to Sky High. And then, some blast the other out of existence because they have a title that isn't terrible dog shit. Hello? Shriek if you know what I did last Friday the 13th? Are you kidding me? Imagine having a title that makes scary movies seem highbrow. So, what about a movie that shares a shocking resemblance to a movie that came out a good 18 years before it? What if they were movies that on paper sound pretty different? One about an archaeologist adventurer and two pals in the 1930s, the other, a group of friends and a talking dog that investigates ghosts. So, exactly how much does the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie from 2002 have in common with the second Indiana Jones movie from 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? A lot. Too much, even? I would go as far to say Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Scooby-Doo are the same movie, different fonts. If you were to plug the plot beats from both films into a Venn diagram, you would get a Venn diagram about as uneven as a Venn diagram for lemons and limes. So, let's start with the main plot beats. The movie starts with a fun, almost unrelated romp that is emblematic of the franchise it belongs to and is the peak of both movies, to be perfectly honest with you. Not that they're ever bad, they just never quite feel as exciting as these sequences do. Indy has the chase out of the nightclub after a deal goes wrong, and the Scooby Gang solves the mystery of the Luna Ghost. After the excitement of the opening sequence, the protagonists are practically begged to go to a mysterious place of luxury to investigate a strange mystery. There, they receive an eerie amount of hospitality by the people in charge of the location they're investigating. After digging deeper into areas they're not supposed to go, they find out about the existence of a cult performing supernatural rituals. There's also some sort of MacGuffin that is tied to the rituals. You already know that shit's gonna glow. The cult attempts to sacrifice the most pure out of the protagonists, which is when shit hits the fan and eventually the cult is defeated. Those under control of the cult are free to go, and the heroes leave victoriously. Aside from twin films, similar plots in film aren't really irregular. Lots of films pay homage to or borrow ideas from films that came before them. Indiana Jones as a franchise exists as a homage to the adventure serials of the 1930s, and it very proudly wears that DNA on its sleeves. It happens. I mean, Inception takes from Paprika, Avatar takes from Fern Gully and Dances with Wolves. Shark Tale and The Godfather are two cinematic titans that have a lot of similarities. Star Wars, Harry Potter, and countless stories follow the template of the hero's journey, lending plenty of room for comparison. Temple of Doom, specifically, draws inspiration from the 1939 adventure film Gunga Din, which is also based off of the 1890 poem of the same name. So, if you consider all of that, you could say that the plot of Scooby-Doo was the result of a game of telephone tracing back to at least a poem from 1890, if not further. Everything is derivative, original thought is non-existent, yada yada. But what's particularly interesting to me about this delicious duology of Doo and Deanna is that I can't really find anywhere on the internet that points out the plot similarities of these two movies, at least from as far as I've looked. IMDb acknowledges that the outfits of the cult in Scooby-Doo are similar to the outfits of the thuggy cult from Temple of Doom, but that's about all I could find. Okay, sure. So the big plot beats are about the same, but listen to a few strange smaller similarities between the two movies. In both films, there's an on-rails chase sequence, a minecart chase in Indy, and a dark ride chase in Scooby. It's worth mentioning that both chase scenes went on to inspire theme park rides. Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland and Tokyo Sea, and Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster at Warner Bros. Movie World. Both cults utilize controlling members' bodies through some sort of magic. Demonic possession in Scooby-Doo, and with brainwashing juice in Temple of Doom. An exceptionally weird similarity is that both movies have weird food gore sequences. They're definitely both very memorable scenes, so I'm not complaining, but I can't really think of many other movies that have the same kind of scene. Not to mention, this right here is almost certainly someone's fetish. The victims in both movies are specifically younger people, the village children in Temple of Doom and partying college kids in Scooby. In Temple of Doom, the young children being used as tools for the cult is symbolic of the cult's wickedness and their disregard for innocence and purity. In Scooby, even though the college kids are portrayed as rambunctious and far from pure when they're arriving on the island, the harsh contrast of how much worse they are when they're possessed show that the cult is still a corrupting force. Even when they're sex and party-crazed young adults, young people are a source of purity that both cults seek to manipulate in their evil, creepy, and wet cave lairs. The biggest glaring detail to me is that both of the cults have a high-up member that is specifically a bald guy with head tattoos. Their faces even look kinda similar. The Scooby counterpart even has a flaming heart tattoo, which is so on the nose that it makes me feel insane that I might be the first person on the internet to compare these two movies. I haven't even mentioned Sugar Ray's in both of these movies. So, did screenwriter James Gunn decide to copy Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz's homework when he wrote the screenplay for Scooby-Doo 2002? Maybe just a little. I'd be shocked if Temple of Doom wasn't a baseline for how he imagined the script. The team dynamic and friendship redemption arc that the Scooby Gang has definitely differentiates it from Temple of Doom, but at the same time, you could definitely make an argument that it heavily draws from Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island, which came out only 3 years prior. Either way, there's plenty in the movie that cements it as uniquely Scooby-Doo fun, and I have such a fondness for the fucking thing, as I'm sure many of you all do. Perhaps tinted by nostalgia glasses, but still. I also really like Temple of Doom, a movie that was always a bit more contentious in reception than the other two Indiana Jones movies because of its darker tone. Apparently, the tone in Temple of Doom was like that because George Lucas and Steven Spielberg both went through a bad breakup around the same time, which is kind of crazy to me. Like many of Spielberg's other movies from the 1980s, Temple of Doom was inarguably formative for Gunn's generation. So, I like to see Scooby-Doo 2002 as a fun homage to a cult classic, as Indy was to adventure serials before it. Both films are strong, as fun as they are unsettling, and all-time classics. They're definitely the same movie, different fonts.